Hello and welcome to CSTA Wyoming Podcast, the show for all things computer science in the WYO. I'm Megan Garnhart, a CSTA Wyoming president and a Wyoming high school computer science teacher. In this episode, we're excited to welcome Erin Olson from the News Literacy Project. As technology continues to shape the way we consume and share information, understanding how to navigate digital spaces responsibly is more important than ever. Erin's going to share with us insights on the role of news literacy in today's world, strategies for helping students to critically evaluate online content, and ways educators can help integrate these skills into their teaching. We're also asking you to stay tuned for an engaging conversation at the intersection of computer science and media literacy. And Erin, I'm so glad you're here to join us. Would you please go ahead and introduce yourselves and share a little bit of background?
Thank you so much for having me. Again, I'm Erin Olson, and I'm with the News Literacy Project. I'm a former high school English teacher. I worked in the computer science field as well, and most passionate about literacy. So I'm excited to share these resources with you and to talk about news literacy as it pertains to everything computer science. So we are a nonpartisan education nonprofit filled with free resources, supports, and lessons. We help people discern fact from fiction in the news and other information they consume and share. Again, our resources are all free. Our lessons explore a variety of news and media literacy subjects such as credibility, validity, accuracy, and bias. NLP was founded in 2008 by Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Alan Miller. And this was born from a desire to give middle school and high school educators the tools to teach their students how to separate fact from fiction in the digital age. Ultimately, our vision is that students are skilled in news literacy before they graduate high school. So, thinking about news literacy, it really falls underneath the media literacy umbrella, but it is focused on specific non ideological principles in teaching. It's a nonpartisan focus and really a dedication to the First Amendment and a conviction that a free press is a cornerstone of our democracy. This promotes engaged participation in civic life. After all, we have to know about the world to care about the world, but our care really needs to be based on accurate information. Thinking about all that we have to offer, I wanted to give you our landing page for AI. So you can find all the things that I'm going to be sharing and so much more at newslit.org/AI. So go ahead and jot that down, newslit.org/AI. So I'm going to highlight some free resources, but I wanted to make sure you had access to this landing page because all of the things I'm sharing, plus additional lessons and supports, are curated underneath that AI focus on this page. Okay, so let's think about those three main resources I'd like to share with you. We are going to follow that theme of AI today, but first off, we're going to check out the resource library, and you can get there from newslit.org. I'm then going to share with you our newsletter, which is an awesome support. And lastly, I'll highlight Checkology, and that is our most comprehensive support for you. It's an online lesson platform. Okay, so newslit.org, here we go. From here, you're going to see four educators at the top, and then you're going to see that resource library when you hover over. I want you to go there if you want to follow along with me as I show and tell. You'll see at the resource library, there's all of these headings. There's lessons, classroom activities, infographics and posters, quizzes, and instructional support. I'm going to focus on infographics and posters because this is something that you'll be able to use right after our time together, right after you listen and watch this podcast. So, thinking about those posters, they really serve as anchor charts, reminders in our physical and digital spaces to engage in the habits of healthy skepticism, fact checking, effective Google searching, and more. One poster I want to highlight, one infographic, and that is our 6 things to know about AI. Artificial intelligence technology isn't new, but dramatic advances in generative AI have captured the world's attention and really are transforming the information landscape. This infographic provides an overview of how this technology works and offers 6 news literacy takeaways to keep in mind as these tools evolve. So, first, generative AI tools are not objective. They aren't. They're subject to the biases of the humans who make them, and any biases in training data may show up when they're used. Additionally, they're not reliably factual. AI tools might feel credible, but the responses they generate routinely are riddled with inaccuracies. And of course, it's not all bad. Uh, AI tools have tremendous upsides. For example, they can boost scientific research or make complicated or specialized tasks more accessible. Additionally, a takeaway, content is easier than ever to create. Easier than ever to create and fake. AI chatbots and image generators produce text and visuals at an unprecedented scale. It really signals a change in the nature of evidence. Um, and this leads us to 6, reputable sources matter more than ever. There's our news literacy skills. Credible sources follow processes to verify information before sharing it, and this should translate into higher levels of trust. So again, that infographic is a great starting point when getting some foundational understandings of AI and what we need to contemplate and consider. And you can find that in the resource library. Another resource that I would like to highlight for you is the SIFT newsletter. It's a weekly newsletter delivered to your inbox. You can explore the archives as well. It's filled with discussion questions, lesson ideas, teaching guides, videos, graphic organizers, and more. It really is a just-in-time support. I appreciate that it comes to your inbox. You can scroll through. If there's a connection to what you're teaching, wonderful. Utilize that connection. And if not, you can wait until next week. New this year are the Daily Do Now slides. I want to show you those because I think this is something that will be extremely helpful to you as you want to start having these conversations with students around AI, around news literacy as it connects to your classroom and the content that you teach. So the Daily Do Now slides are turnkey resources. You see on the screen what the slide looks like, and that's what students would see when you present this. But note, in the notes section are your teaching points and instruction along with extension activities for you to use. So we're just going to play. We're going to take a moment and we're going to play the Daily Do Now slide. So our first question, Megan, what is an algorithm? And feel free to look at the responses and provide the answer that you think to be true.
Listen, I'm not even gonna cheat, Erin, because I pulled these up over here, the Daily Do Now, and I'm not even gonna cheat, okay?
Okay.
Although a lot of pressure on myself, like if I answer this
Mm-hmm.
and then I have it wrong, and my students watch my podcast now, I think more to make fun of me, just so we're
Oh
clear.
dear.
But can you imagine if I got it wrong? But I do believe that it's B, a set of rules that a computer uses to
Mm-hmm.
automate certain processes.
That is correct. It is a set of rules. You are exactly right. And I love that your students watch your podcast. That's endearing. Uh,
It is good. It's funny.
that's wonderful. So right, it is B. And so in the teaching notes of this slide, it gives us the answer, and then it gives us an extension activity that we can check out a lesson in Checkology, Introduction to Algorithms. I'm actually going to show that to you when we go to Checkology. So you'll see that in a moment. But it gives us that support to include um, if we want to extend this conversation and extend this learning. Let's look at another one. Here's an example of reflection slide. So Megan, feel free to just answer this question openly. Do you use generative AI to find information? Why or why not?
I don't use it to find information myself, only because I don't feel like it's a great place to search for facts, I guess is kind of where I usually try to lean myself. I use it as a tool for day to day things that I would like to make more simplistic, but I'm not usually looking at it for information or factual things yet, truthfully.
Mhm. And that's as you can see, as Megan just demonstrated, she just shared her experience, her opinion, and that's what the slide's meant to do, to have students have some open dialogue, to get insight into their usage. And you see on the slide additional information, and this comes from uh, a study we released in the fall the News Literacy Project conducted this survey of teen information attitudes, habits, and skills. And so you can see from this that 55% of teens use generative AI chatbots, but only 5% report being daily users. Additionally, this slide shares 33% of teens use AI image generators, but only 2% report being daily users. So we have generative chatbots. So are they using it to search, to get information, to create information? And then, of course, the image generator. So just meant to start conversation. Since I mentioned the study, I do want to mention an interesting component is that the majority of students reported, there were over 1,000 students that were surveyed, by the way, across the country, but the majority of students reported that they're skeptical of the information that AI provides. And I thought that an interesting point.
That is interesting. Now, Erin, I have to share because I've played with these this today. I played
Mhm.
with this just now as you're messing with it. And I love that it has the teacher notes in there. I feel like that's often some of the things that are missing. And you were an educator, so you know this, but I feel like there is often times
Mhm.
where I get onto something that is created for education that I'm like, but did you bring an educator into this when you
Right.
made this?
Right.
Like, that sounds terrible, but you know that that's a very true
Mhm.
thing. And so as I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is truly turnkey. Like, I
It
could truly
is.
walk in tomorrow and use this as a bell ringer, as an, as any
Mm.
part of that to get them just thinking. And it has teacher notes right there for me that I love. So it was
Definitely.
super cool.
I'm so happy that you appreciate that. I know I do. And a lot of the bell ringers have links for more information, links to, I mean, there's a link back to that original survey as well if you wanted to dive more into that. But sometimes it's a link to a TikTok video, sometimes it's
Mhm.
a link to a lesson. But there are those supports embedded, not only to use it in the moment, but also if a teacher desires to use it as a springboard into something more. Okay,
So cool.
let's keep playing. And now we are to another example of these bell ringers, and it's AI or not. So you'll see
Mhm.
this come up time to time. And when you go to the Daily Do Nows, by the way, they're cumulative. So you will see the most recent week on top, but you can scroll through the year's worth of bell ringers. But let's just play. Um, Megan, I'm going to have you guess. First instinct, like which image is the real photo, A or B?
Ugh, you're getting so good. So I feel like it's B is the real image.
Okay,
And
so I'm going to reveal. Uh,
okay.
I will reveal, but I'm curious, as you were looking, what made you decide before I reveal? What made you decide B?
So I feel like I always explain to people when I chat with them that I feel like the AI images have almost like a really clean, like falsely clean look to them, right?
Mhm.
Like there is not anything noticeable that's not, but then also skin is very like artificial looking. Like it almost has like a doll-like look. And I feel like A somewhat has that. Which
Okay.
now if that's not the AI one, I'm gonna you're gonna be like, bless this
There goes
girl with
that.
doll-like skin, right? Yeah.
So there goes that. Okay, so the I'm so happy that you pointed out the things that you were looking for because those are the things that we traditionally have been looking for when trying to detect AI or not. And you were right, Megan. B is the real photo. So in my teaching points, though, I find this really fascinating, and I'm going to share this with us because I think this is an um, important point to underscore. So it says in my educator instructions in those notes, it says, explain that the rise of more convincing fake visuals created with AI technology means finding the source and context of an image is often more important than hunting for visual clues of authenticity. Any viral image that can't be verified through a reliable source, using a reverse image search, for example, should be approached with skepticism. And we know that AI imagery is continually like it's just improving so much
Yeah.
so that it's hard to keep up with. But from a few years ago with where we could tell by hands and those finite details and even now that's becoming, more difficult to be able to just
It,
use our own eye.
it is so difficult. My students and I actually discussed that just today. That hands used to be the thing I always told people,
Mhm.
like, AI can't do hands, you guys. Look to the hands, look to, and it's not, that's not as steadfast anymore as it used to be. And how quickly that happened, right? Like, I feel like just
Mhm.
in the last year and a half, I've gone from being able to be like, come on, how is that fooling you? It has 27 fingers or it's missing
Yes.
four. And now I'm like, that is not a steadfast rule. Like,
Right.
it's not. So um I I like the conversations there of looking to other things that we're gonna have to do, and healthy skepticism. I love the language on that skepticism
Mhm.
and being skeptical of what it is enough to look.
Right. And I appreciate that there is hope. It isn't hopeless in our quest to discover what's real, what's not real. Um, we can use those news literacy skills, as mentioned, reverse image search, for example. So we can do the things to figure out the things, but it does take, an extra step beyond just critical observation. So I hope you appreciated those daily do now slides. They're so um, engaging. They're meant to springboard conversation. They're instructional. And again, those teaching points are in the notes section for you, so you're able to use them immediately. All right, let's keep moving along to our resources. So you've seen two of our resources. I've shared the resource library, the SIFT, and now I'm going to take us to Checkology. So Checkology is our online lesson platform. Again, this is free, and it is for middle school and high school. It's comprehensive. It's designed to supplement your curriculum, and it is cross-curricular, by the way. So um, whether it's computer science, another STEM field, ELA, social studies, there's something there for you to utilize to incorporate into your classroom to support what you are already teaching. You can register for a free account. It's free for students as well, and this is really designed for grades 6 through 12. You can see from those lesson thumbnails the main lessons that we have. And when I say lessons, what I'm talking about is learning that's going to last about 2 to 4 days, depending on the lesson. So these lessons aren't lessons that you can necessarily finish in one class period, depending on your scheduling, but they are named lessons. So it might be a 2 to 3 dayer, 45-minute class period. You can tell by those thumbnails, again, that they're cross-curricular, all taught by subject matter experts. So statisticians, journalists, scientists are teaching the content. There are formative assessments embedded. So right after content and concept is introduced, you have a formative assessment where a student can, um, check in on their learning. And some of those are open-ended. Some of the questions are write their answers. If they're write their answers, they're auto-graded. You can register for a free account, checkology.org, or you can get there from how I shared from that newslit.org homepage. So either way is fine, whatever makes sense for you. I'm going to transition to a live demo. So I'm going to exit out of my slides and get us to Checkology. And feel free if you want to follow along to do the same.
Erin, while you transition to this, I
Mhm.
have to say, I got my students into Checkology today. I got them logged in literally today. And we were waiting for the correct approvals. You
Mhm.
know, they have to go through the schools, and they were like, "Yes, we checked this all out. It's good for our students. Let's do it." Um, and so we were able to get them on. It was super easy to get a class set up for me and get my students into it. And I got them into, and you're going to look at some lessons, so no spoilers, but we looked at um, a reverse image search lesson
Oh,
actually today, and it was
awesome.
so good. Watching them do this was incredible, and watching them be like, I had no idea I could do this, or I had no idea you could look this way.
Yeah.
So just wow, it was fascinating to watch.
I am so glad. And I'm so glad it was helpful and that your students were engaged. And that's just one of the many supports. So, um, if you are just starting with us, you can get to checkology.org and hit register now in the top right corner. I'm already signed in, so I'm going to take us to the content tab. There's 3 levels of content. So I was mentioning when you saw those thumbnails, the lesson thumbnails, they come from the learn section. Those are those 2 to 4 lesson, 2 to 4 day, 45-minute class period lessons. There's also practice and extensions. Those are exactly as they're named. They extend the learning from those lessons. And there's fact checks, and those activities really are missions where students are able to apply all that they've learned and practice and accomplish a mission of sorts. One of my favorite fact checks right here, can you search like a pro? Um, this walks students through the task in sort of a Mission Impossible format. It's taught by former CIA officiant Cindy Otis, and she's having students debunk the conspiracy theory birds aren't real, using reverse image search, using Boolean operators, using their effective Google skills, search skills. And I sincerely appreciate that experience just because it's non-threatening, non-triggering, and students are able to strategy focus as they accomplish said task. So that's one to check out if you haven't seen that yet. But it really puts students in the driver's seat of applying all the things that we want them to use daily when it comes to
I
being
am
literate.
laughing so hard at that because I just absolutely love that is the
Mhm.
lesson or the fact check in there. That makes me so happy. And usually on my podcast, it's just the voice. And I love that people are going to see how hard I laughed at that because the birds aren't real conspiracy theory is the funniest thing to me. So the fact that we
Yeah.
can look that up is
Mhm.
spectacular.
Yeah, and even better to find out what it's really about, and it had nothing to do with
Right.
it being a theory, just, it was more about, money, but,
I'm
what
gonna have to go watch this.
yes, yes, so it just walks students through that process, so that's another support, so just know there's those 3 levels: learn, practice and extend, and then those fact checks. All of our lessons have full transcripts. Whether you need that for transparency or modifications and accommodations or language acquisition, it's there for you. You also have a lesson guide. So I'm going to scroll us through the lesson guide for Introduction to Algorithms. So you can see our host, Mia Sato. You see what this lesson's about. Dive into the world of algorithms and generative artificial intelligence as you weigh the civic and social impact of these technologies. You can see objectives, you see essential questions. I appreciate this question. How much influence do algorithms have in my life? I think that's a great question for students to contemplate and consider. As I scroll, you're going to see a lesson outline. So notice that this lesson is organized in chapters, so you can chunk it if you need to in design or around the chapter. So you have what are algorithms, the attention economy, pitfalls, generative AI, and then of course the end conclusion. Lastly, on this lesson guide, you see a word wall. So if you want to front load with academic talk and vocabulary, feel free to tap into this language and support students with this learning. Also, when students are engaging in the video and they're watching the lesson, there on the bottom right, there's a WW, that's the word wall. They can click the WW and pull up the vocabulary during the lesson if they're going through that lesson independently. So that's there for you as well. All right, so introduction to algorithms. I just want to give us a taste and just a brief overview of this lesson. All the videos are bite-sized. I'm just going to play a little bit just so you can get a feel for what this is about as I walk you through some of the parts of, of this lesson. So what are algorithms? We're going to start with the foundation, and let's just take a quick listen. Mia Sato.
Okay, so what exactly are algorithms? How do they work? Well, in the simplest terms, an algorithm is a set of rules that a computer uses to automate certain processes. They're kind of like recipes, a series of steps that a program follows to do a particular job. So let's say I want to cook up a quick algorithm designed to get and keep your attention online. We'd need a half a cup of popularity, 1 cup of search history, 2 tablespoons of interest, and just a dash of sensationalism.
I'm done! I have some things I really think you'll like.
Algorithms can be difficult to wrap our heads around because sometimes their inner workings are a bit of a mystery. We know algorithms follow a set of rules, but
We know that they follow a set of rules, which we answered that. Megan did get that question right in our Daily Do Now slide. So you see that bridge of all of our resources. And as Mia continues with this portion, um, she dives into the history of algorithms. Of course, they're not new. That set of rules, that process, it's ancient, and so we get that foundational understanding. You can see from the screen, from the closed captioning, she starts to talk about inputs and outputs, and a bit of that personalization of how algorithms work when we're searching for a term and what we get in response to our search question. So um, great foundational start to this lesson happens at the beginning, and then we move through and things get more complex. We're building upon one concept to the next. And here's an example of a formative assessment. So it's a right there answer. It's auto graded when students select the response, but you can see what one of the formative assessments looks like. Additionally, as we advance through the learning, we're in this attention economy, so we're learning more about how do things get our attention, how are they keeping our attention. And I'm not going to show you a video from this section, but I am going to show you a formative assessment, because this is another example of a varied formative assessment. It's open-ended question. And so it asks, in the last segment, Mia said that the suggestion algorithms don't just get to know you, they also change you. What does she mean by this? What an interesting question. That suggestion algorithms, what's suggested to us when we're searching, when we're engaging in content, how does that influence us? I think that's a great question, and students would have had some learning prior to this, so they'd be able to consider their response and think on their own opinion and justify their thoughts on this prompt. So I'm going to keep moving us. After we learn more about algorithms and we've gone through that learning, we're diving into generative AI. And so we get an introduction to that in this next video. I'm going to hit play and just going to play a portion of this so you get an idea of more about this lesson and some information about generative AI.
Oh, it looks like 2 things in your cart are now available for a lower price. Mia, this is Jen. Short for generative AI. She's so cool. If you thought the things I could do were impressive, just wait till you see what Jen can do. Bye. You want to see the Mona Lisa playing an electric guitar? But painted in the style of Van Gogh? Or comic book?
how did you...
How about a research paper on Toni Morrison? The War of 1812? Molecular biology?
Not bad, but you didn't include any citations or sources.
Done. Included the sources you asked for.
Wait a minute. Toni Morrison isn't from Illinois, she's from Ohio. And for this paper on the War of 1812, you cite a New York Times article, but did they actually even publish that?
This one's funny. Here's your president littering at a climate change march. This one's good. Here's that pop star you like telling people not to bother voting this year.
How? These look so real. This is dangerous. You shouldn't make things like this.
Okay, so you get introduced to Jen, and of course, this is personified, but example of perhaps some points of concern when it comes to generative AI and content that is created. The lesson continues to build that foundational understanding of generative AI, and then it builds upon that, just as you saw with algorithms. Here we have another response where students can select two. It's auto-graded. Which of these are reasons that generative AI tools sometimes invent facts that aren't accurate? And so students can weigh in on this. And we have, I'm going to help out. So maybe Megan and I can answer this together. So we know this to be true. Generative AI chatbots sometimes just make things up for reasons no one can fully explain. And we call that hallucinations. It's the nice word for just making things up. Do you know the other reason?
I'm reading, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Portraying a large number of web pages, many of which are unreliable. I would say they're trained on a large number of web pages, and those themselves are unreliable.
Right. And that's what students are learning through this, that generative AI is trained on all the things. And so when we think about all the things, that includes accurate and inaccurate information. And so that's where we see some of that, that information that is created that is inaccurate. All right, so there's another example of that formative assessment. And then we get to our conclusion. So I'm just going to play a little bit of how this lesson ends for you. And here's Mia again.
Now that you have a foundational understanding of algorithms, you can start to notice when they're at work. Remind yourself every day that the search engines and social media platforms you use to find information are using algorithms to decide what to show you and what to leave out. You can learn how to use algorithms to your advantage. For instance, if you curate your feed and engage with more credible news sources, your social feeds will be filled with more reliable, standards-based updates about our current events, alongside all the fun posts from your friends and family. Another good step is checking your account settings within your social media apps. This is typically where you can block certain keywords or hashtags that you're not interested in. And hey, I don't mean that you should filter out every idea that's different from yours or that you disagree with. We did just talk about filter bubbles, after all. In fact, another good step you can take is to consciously teach your suggestion algorithms to show you thoughtful, well-reasoned opinions you don't agree with, so that you can be more civically engaged. Once in a while, check your information diet. Where are you getting most of your information? Do you need to seek out other sources? While you're gathering facts, think about your own perspectives and biases. Taking steps like these can help you navigate through noise and make the most of your online spaces. Ultimately, if you consciously make a plan, you can be in control of the role algorithms play in your life. Anything to add, Algo? Thoughts? Feelings?
Oh, I don't think. Or have feelings. I'm an algorithm.
Exactly.
So I love that ending. And then the last formative assessment really asks students to speak intention about what steps they plan to take, what actions they can take to have algorithms be at their advantage.
This is such a powerful thing. I feel like that is, well, gosh, I feel like many adults could learn from this as well. But I feel like this is so powerful for students, and something that's how incredible that it's created and out there and ready for us. Because I feel like it's one of those things that I'm so frequently trying to explain to students and talk to them about, but to have something that I can actually like show them and give them the reasoning in such a well done way is so important, because it is something we talk about a lot. Like, you guys, my algorithm is like, I always tell mine is beautiful. Like, I see really amazing things on mine.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned so much. And they're like, mine's brain rot. And I'm like, doesn't have to be. Did you know there's like great things out there?
Right.
So how incredible to have it somewhere ready to present to students and ready for us, that we don't have to do all of that creation and try to figure out how to present it in a way that's useful. Like, this is just incredibly powerful.
I appreciate that you see that power, because just in this last, I mean, even this last formative assessment really is empowering what students can do. And you've noticed throughout this learning, it's really about helping students think about what they consume. It's not telling them what to think. That's not it at all. It's
Right.
how to think about what they're engaging with, and questioning what they engage with. And that, we'll say it again, that healthy skepticism um,
Yes. And
is
then giving
key.
them the tools, right? Because I feel like
Mhm.
sometimes that's always like this fine line. And I feel like maybe likely other computer science teachers feel the same way. Like it's my job to give them a healthy skepticism and my job to make them aware of the dangers that exist out there, but not taking away their excitement for something that I too
Oh,
love, right? Like
right,
I
right.
love technology, you guys. I
Mhm.
know that this is our future, but how can we then, and let you use the perfect word, empower them with it? Like
Mhm.
you're not a victim of technology. You get to be the curator of technology. And so,
Mhm.
how cool to empower them and show them how they can do that.
And that happens with, teaching news literacy as it
Yes,
connects to all the contents.
absolutely. I feel like that there's so much power in that. And I love that word, empowering them to feel like they're in control of curating this. And you can be, you don't have to feel like you're just, again, a victim of what is coming at you, which I feel like sometimes we do. Like, it's just what's coming at me. Like, here it is. And
Right.
it doesn't have to be that way, though.
It doesn't.
Fantastic. I just really, wow, I love it. It's incredible stuff. So, and Erin, do you have other things that you want to share with us today? Was the Checkology and those that incredible stuff that I'm
Mhm.
gonna like sleep on tonight and think about? Was that our your last chunk to share with us?
Yes, just a reminder that newslit.org/AI, that's our landing page. And there's so much more on Checkology, that more lessons than I highlighted. And just know that we're here to support. So if there are educators that want to dive in and would like our support, feel free to reach out to me at eolson@newslit.org, EOLSON at newslit.org, and I'm happy to assist. Um, but again, all those lessons are supplemental at Checkology. So where we ended with Checkology, and um, there's different levels of lessons. So whether you use a full lesson or you use, look at those extensions, or even get into the fact checks, there's something there for you to support your students to have these skills. So they are news literate before they graduate high school.
Which, isn't that the goal? A news literate world, isn't that the goal?
Yes.
Ah, I might be speaking just for myself in my opinion, but I do feel that may be the goal at this point is a news
Yes.
littered world. So, Erin, thank you so much. And for our listeners, we will have both Erin's email and their landing page for newslit.org/AI /AI /AI. I have it written down. We will get it right for you in the comments on the video so that you can easily access those. You know where to find them. We will have them ready for you. And honestly, folks, I did this just myself today. It is so easy, so intuitive, and there is more on here than I can possibly explain. And I am just so excited that we had the opportunity to sit down with Erin and NLP. This is just truly empowering and incredible stuff. So thank you for joining us, truly.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I love it. Truly, the work that you guys are doing is very vital for both educators and our students as we go into this. So, again, we really appreciate it. We will get your information put in there, and I hope that we can get lots of educators and students onto this information because we know this isn't slowing down anytime soon. So, the more information we can get out there for our students, the better. Um, Listeners, quick reminder for all of you, please mark your calendars for June 11th through the 13th. It will be our summer WACD conference in Casper, Wyoming. CSTA Wyoming will be providing an incredible lineup for computer science presenters. We have vendors, we'll have keynotes there for you. And we're offering again this year K through post secondary levels for computer science. We would love to have you. And man, we have a great lineup started for you. Please feel free to go to the WACD website, wacte.com, where you can find more information and get registered for our conference. And of course, don't forget to follow us everywhere that you can follow anyone, which is X, Instagram, Facebook, to stay up to date on all things CS. And you can see our podcast. You can learn more about Erin and learn all amazing things. Thank you for joining us.